we take our next exam. Okay, and what we've got here, and it's a little bit hard to tell because we can't really see what color would have been injected there. So I need to actually follow it down and see where it goes to realize what I'm working with. I do think it's the superior vena cava, but we'll clean this out a bit and get a good look. Okay, ideally, if this is the superior vena cava, it would be blue. Let's see. Okay, so if you have not already removed the pericardium from around the heart, please do so today, because we'll want to look at the aortic arch and sometimes you can see the pulmonary vein where it's leaving, pulmonary trunk, and then the pulmonary arteries as they're pulmonary artery as it's leaving, pulmonary veins as it's returning, sorry. Okay, we've got a bit of preservative, and I found this more this time than I was prepared for, but you may find a layer of this preservative on the heart. Just peel it off, that's okay, we don't have to keep it. Okay, so we actually have a really nice aortic arch right here. Clean this up a little bit, okay? And what you're gonna look for as you gently use your blunt probe, not your pokey probe, but your blunt probe, is, I don't know if you guys can see it, but we've got an arch right here. And one of the telltale signs is I can actually put my blunt probe right in the space right there.
Does the descending aorta sit a little bit on the left side, or is it completely in the middle?
Most often, right, a little bit on the left. Yeah, a little bit to the left. Good question. Okay. Tweezers are probably also going to be very handy.
The rep tube?
Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so we're just clearing away so we can see the aortic arch. It's way more important when you don't have your arteries and veins well injected, because that's the only way you're going to know what's coming off of the aorta, is to go all the way back to the aorta. So in this case, this right here, this big one, is the superior vena cava. Okay, this one right here, right here is the brachiocephalic artery. Okay, we can follow that out then. Okay, and we're just, part of what I'm taking away here is that adventitia, what we were talking about, that external layer that we talked about in lecture today. Okay, and we can see how, even though this isn't well injected, can you see how the brachiocephalic right here is splitting? And we've got the subclavian. This is that's the vagus nerve. Okay, so we've got the subclavian right here, subclavian. He doesn't have a clavicle, but it goes under his first rib. Okay, subclavian here, see the body wall right here? So this would be axillary. Okay, and if we look a little bit farther down in the arm, it's going to be a little bit harder to find because it's not pink, but it'll be right down here for those of you that have pink. Okay, if we look right here, so we've got our right subclavian here. Let's go back to here and see where else this branches. So this branches right here. This is going to be the right common carotid. Okay, and it's going to split much higher up here. And without this being injected, it's going to be almost impossible to tell where it splits because it's so high up, it's hard to tell anyway. But this is the right common carotid. And you can see that there's a string tied around this because that's where they supposedly injected the pink latex. You can tell that it looks like they just injected a little bit. Okay, and then if we have not torn it, we should be able to see the left common carotid coming off of here. Okay. Looks like that one's going to be a little bit more elusive.
Yeah, when those vessels start to get shredded, then it's a little.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder. Okay, so let's just go on back down to the aorta. Okay, so that's the superior vena cava there. We found the brachiocephalic. This is the left subclavian right here. Okay, and the left subclavian is going to come up here. Okay, and this one's going to be a little bit harder because the body wall is so thick because we didn't open it up on this side. But it's going to enter right here, cross the body wall, be in the armpit, axillary, and then when we find it on down here, it'll be the brachial. Okay, so did I cover everything on the upper body? Did I? I think I did. I don't think I forgot anything. Okay. So your jugulars, that's going to be even harder to find here because it's not injected. So if we find somebody who's got good blue in the upper body, we'll go through the jugulars. When you get below the diaphragm here, okay, then we're going to be working with the inferior vena cava and the descending aorta. Okay, you're probably going to have to, I find it easier to work from the mink's left side. I'm going to just turn it this way for now. Okay, and you're probably going to have to pull some of this peritoneum off of here so you can get down into the retroperitoneal cavity and find the descending aorta and the inferior vena cava. Okay, the one that Nicolette's working on the arterial side, if you'll notice, she's got a couple of, or three actually, vessels that she's drawn where it comes out straight out at you from the aorta. That's because that's what that's doing here. And unfortunately, Renee, it doesn't look like we've got any better latex. Oh, there we go. We've got a good inferior vena cava. So I'm not seeing much in the way of a descending aorta, but oh, you have a great gonadal vein. Okay, let's do the veins because this one looks good with the veins. The right venous side in the abdomen differs from the left, and the left is more complex, so I'm going to go over this one first. Okay, notice that I had to go into this the retroperitoneal cavity to find what I'm looking for. So we've got the inferior vena cava here. Okay, this first, hold on. This first piece right here, if you can see that, that's the renal vein. Okay, that's coming from, who's recording me?
Hi.
This is coming from the kidney here. Okay, it's going to be a little bit harder to see because it's not very blue. Does anybody have paper towels close by? If they can just tear a piece off so I can wipe the probe. You can see.
Never mind. I think.
See this? Thank you. Thanks.
That works too.
Oh, thank you. Look at you guys are awesome. Thank you. If you can see that right here, I've got the probe underneath a very small vein. Okay, that's going to be the suprarenal or the adrenolumbar. Okay, that's going to the adrenal or coming from the adrenal gland. Some of you are probably going to find, if you can see this piece where I'm working on now, see how this one looks almost like it gets all the way back to the vena cava before it merges with the renal vein. Some of you are going to find that it's going to merge closer to the kidney with the renal vein. And some of them are gonna almost make like almost a triangle with the inferior vena cava, which is what this one's doing. So just be careful, because it could be that yours is going to merge with the renal vein closer to the kidney, okay? And then if you notice, we've got this one right here, this blue one right here, that's gonna be the gonadal vein. So we know that because if we follow it, see how we can follow this all the way down to the ovary right here. Okay, so the gonadal vein only on the left, the gonadal vein is going to merge with the renal vein, and then together those are going to merge with the adrenal lumbar and then with the inferior vena cava, okay? If you don't have great glue latex on the lower body, I'm going to caution you to be very careful, because we also have the ureters down here, what's draining the kidney and taking the urine to the bladder, okay? And some people, that's what this is right here. Some people think that this is the vessel, or that this worse is just tissue that they can rip up. Okay, don't do that. Okay, keep that. Okay, but this one has excellent gonadal. I'm gonna see what else I can see down here. Okay, so you can see here on the right side, right here, this would be the right gonadal. So the right gonadal is actually going to merge directly with the vena cava, whereas the left gonadal is going to go up and merge with the left renal vein. If we go a little bit more inferior, we can find right here, this one is the ilio, hip, lumbar, low back. So this one is going to serve or drain, in this case because it's a vein, the hip and low back area. Maybe we're going to have to dig a little bit more down here and see if we can see. Okay, it's going to be hard for you guys to see this because it's not got latex, but this is the inferior mesenteric because it's going to the large intestine. So this is one of the cool things about vessels, is you can gently tug on it. If you can't tell, oh, is that the hepatic, is that the gastric? Okay, what you can do is just gently tug on it and see what moves. Or you can gently pull on the area that you think it goes to and see if it gets taut. Okay, I say gently, that is the key. Okay, and yeah, since we don't have good arteries, if we find someone with good arteries, I'll be happy to do the lower body arteries on that one because it'll be easier for you guys to see. But we've got the superior mesenteric right up here, and we've got the celiac trunk right here. We'll try to get these a little bit better. But again, they don't have much latex, so it's really kind of hard to see what's going on there. I'm going to go a little bit more inferior. What we should see at the base of this, at the very end of the vena cava, if the latex made it down that far, is that the vena cava splits, and this will be the left and right. It'll make a V, and it'll be the left and right common iliac veins. Okay, and remember when it says common, that means that there's two things that feed into it, right? So I'm gonna clear this up a little bit. Since your arteries aren't injected well, I'm not being quite as delicate with them as I normally would be. So let's get right down here. The artery is not injected well, but you can actually see the descending aorta here. And you can see how the descending aorta is like splitting right here into, on the top portion, this is the external iliac artery on both sides. The internal kind of appears like I might have just peeled it off. Okay, so off to the side, you can start to see where the descending aorta is going to split right down here. I'm going to have to clear some of this fat away. But this will be the left common iliac right here. Okay? There's going to be a point, and we'll have to, again, clear some of this soft tissue away so we can see it. But a little bit more towards the leg will be the point at which the internal iliac merges with the external iliac. So when the internal iliac merges with the external iliac, the space between the merge and the inferior vena cava is the common iliac. Okay, and in this case we're talking about veins, because this guy doesn't have a common iliac artery like we do. Okay, when this crosses the body wall, the external iliac crosses the body wall, it becomes the femoral vein, and that's right here.
Do they have a perform femoris?
A what?
Profunda femoris?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, just in humans?
I think so. Okay, here we go. Femoral vein. We can extrapolate that this is the femoral artery next to it, even though it's not got much latex. And then the femoral vein, I'm sorry, the femoral nerve is laying in here as well. Okay, so femoral vein. Okay, and you can just, if you can't tell where it's going, just lay your blunt probe there and it'll go right through the body wall. When it comes in through the body wall, it's the external iliac. You'll look for the internal iliac. The internal iliac is, in most of these, really small. Really, really small. As a matter of fact, that's it. That's a piece of it right there. Looks like a blue hair. Okay, see that like blue hair right there? There we go. Okay, so from here, the internal iliac is merging with the external. This makes this the common iliac, and it'll go back and merge right up here with the inferior vena cava. Okay, and here's the split. Right here's the split. Okay. Okay, so if anybody has great pink on the lower body, let me